you go. Hey everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. Well, everyone loves a good success story, and my guest today is Susmita Shah, and we look forward to hearing hers. Thanks so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Chef AJ. I'm a big fan of yours, so pleasure is all mine.
Well, you really didn't have to dress up for me. I'm wearing sweats, but thank you. You look beautiful. So I'd love to hear your story, Sue.
Yeah, sure. So it's kind of a long story, but I'm going to try to, shorten it and make it as quick as possible. We had gone to India back in March 2020. This was right before the pandemic had hit. And we were supposed to be there for 10 days. And it ended up that we ended up spending 5 months because of the whole country was in a lockdown, and we had to take evacuation flight back. So meanwhile, in India, we were stuck in this small apartment, and there was really not much we could do. We were indoors the whole time. So all we did was just try new recipes and just cook and eat, and just eat all kinds of junk food. Although I'd been a vegetarian my whole life, we were just eating a lot of junky food, a lot of dairy consumption. And I had gained literally, I want to say about 10 to 15 pounds in those 5 months. So I think I was at an all-time high as far as my weight was concerned. When I came back to USA, I was like, okay, this is not right. I just didn't feel good. So I was like, okay, I have to work on weight loss. And I had never really worked on weight loss per se, because I was always athletic. I used to play judo when I was younger. And so for me, it was just very odd having so much weight on me. So I have a family friend. His name is Parag Savla. He's a health coach. So he happened to call us just to say hello. And, so he's like, oh yeah, I coach. So I said, okay, I'm interested in your coaching. And he started coaching me. He follows Dr. Furman's nutritarian lifestyle. So he started coaching me, and I read the Eat to Live book. Then he in fact introduced me to you, because he sent me some calorie density videos on YouTube. So he shared that with me. And so I was at an all-time high of 144 pounds, and I'm like tad bit over 5 feet. So that weight just looked like I was really bloated and, bulked up. And so after that, I worked with him. I lost about 30 pounds. And I saw during your lives, I saw that you were promoting your Reboot program. So that's when I said, okay, let me try that, because the last 5 pounds are not going. Actually, I still have a little bit to go, like about 10 pounds or so that I want to still lose. But so I joined that, and that was my journey, where my son became vegan first when we came back from India, my 13-year-old. And he's like, Mom, you need to go vegan. I was like, no, I can't do vegan. I just love dairy too. Like, I love yogurt, and we have buttermilk every day. And so I was like, oh, I just love dairy too much. I can't give up dairy. So he went vegan, and, I was trying to help, I cooked food for him and stuff. So I was making vegan food for him. And then he converted my husband. And now I have 2 vegans in the house, and I'm the only non-vegan. So
Wait a minute. But why not?
Well, so it's just that I love dairy too much. Like, I was like, oh, I can't have ice cream, I can't have cake.
Sure
chocolates.
you can. There's so much dairy.
Well, ignorance. So that's what happened. And then my son kind of tried to convince us. It didn't work. But then when I started working with a coach, I realized, what I was doing. And then I started reading. I'm a registered nurse by profession, so I should know better. But we don't get that much. We get some nutrition education, but it's not enough to where you can, really practice and implement and teach others. So that's pretty much, he went vegan, my husband went vegan, and then I was the last one to go vegan. So I've been vegan for a year now, a little bit over a year, July of 2020.
Well, thank goodness for your very intelligent son, because a lot of times it's the other way around. The mother's first, and then the other family members join them. But it's interesting, because you mentioned the Reboot program, and we're going to talk about why you feel like that was so helpful to you. But one of the things we teach a lot is, like you said, calorie density, and whether dairy is healthful or not, it's very calorically dense as opposed to other foods.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And you probably know the reason this was so hard to give up was because of those casomorphines. And, there's a wonderful book by Dr. Neil Barnard called The Cheese Trap, and another one called Your Body in Balance. And it's not just you, it's hard for everyone to give up dairy products because of that addictive compound called casomorphine in it. That's why you like it so much.
And cheese, cheese was a big thing for me. Like everything had to have cheese. So it was really difficult. But once you get used to it, now it's like I'm grossed out at the thought, like, why are we having, and I've helped so many. I have a couple of friends that have turned vegan as well, just seeing my story. And, I've lost 35 pounds. So, and kept it off. The big thing is, just losing weight. But then now it's kind of natural. Like,
yeah, that's fantastic.
I don't think I'll ever go back to, where I was, because just the lifestyle.
Well, you look great. I should have asked if you had a before picture, but cheese isn't something that's traditional in the Indian culture, is it?
So we have what's called paneer, which is like cottage cheese. We use that quite a bit. And then, when I moved back to I moved to USA in 2000, in the year 2000, and I was not used to the portion sizes. I was very skinny growing up. And my husband it was funny because it was my birthday and he had taken me to Olive Garden and we ordered something and we ordered like 2 plates, some pasta or something. And I'm like, oh my God, how many people did they bring? Like one serving, it was one serving. And I was shocked because I was like, how many people is this for? Like I had a little small appetite, and just looking at that, I felt like it was for like 10 people, So maybe not 10, maybe I'm exaggerating, maybe 5, but it just was shocking to me. So I guess, over time, your kind of idea of what a normal serving size is kind of morphed a little bit. We use a lot of ghee in India. I don't know if you know what ghee, like the clarified butter.
Yeah, it's dairy.
So that is a big thing with every curry that you make. You need, just for the tempering, you use ghee. So all those things, I was like, okay, how do I give up? Then I started cooking for my son and I got used to it. And then sometime I'd be like, okay, this much, a little bit would be okay. And then he would get really mad at me. No, I'm not having it, Mom. So it took me a while to kind of understand, what veganism was. And he went vegan more for the ethical reasons. Like he was listening to Earthling Ed. And that's kind of what made him vegan. So he's still a junk food vegan per se, but now he's into bodybuilding. He's 15 now, and he wants to gain muscle and things like that. So it's a little bit different. But for me, the main thing was, just weight loss initially. So,
well, I just love
the program was amazing. I mean, it was such bite-sized pieces. You had broken it down so well. Everything sat perfect. Like it was just all the recipes, everything was just amazing. I think that helped me a lot.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. And we're going to delve a little bit deeper into the program. But first, I just have to say, that's amazing that your son came to this on his own at such a young age.
Yes. I'm still blown away that, how did he, I mean, just now thinking back, I'm like, oh my God, he was onto something. And, we didn't even, like, I didn't pay much attention and I was just resisting till he finally, got through. So.
Well, kudos to him. Do you still work as a registered nurse?
Yes, ma'am, I do. I work I'm a quality auditor. So I don't work on the hospital floor, but I do like medical record reviews.
Right. So you have to actually go in the hospital though and see the food that they're serving to the patients?
No, I don't. So I'm not, I work from home. I look at patient charts, like the medical records all day long, and just audit it for like preventive measures, screenings and stuff like that. So.
Well, it's good because, I used to volunteer at a hospital and the nurses station, or at least the break room, was full of very unhealthy snacks usually.
Yes, definitely.
People think they're nurses by giving them a 5-pound box of See's candy. It's like, whoa.
Yes. It's kind of sad. The situation is pretty sad because, and again, I feel like it's ignorance. People don't know any better. They don't know of, all the chemicals. And now I'm like, when I look at foods, it has to be 4 or 5 ingredients that I actually understand. I mean, I'm more on a whole food plant-based diet now, SOS free. Sometimes I still add salt. That's my little, I'm trying. You gave the idea of sumac to me, in one of your videos. So I tried to use that, but sometimes I'm like, okay, the food is just not right.
No, the salt is the hardest for people. People they think it's going to be the oil, but that's actually the easiest for most people because they're still allowed to use, fats like nuts and seeds and avocado, and they think the sugar is going to be so hard. But there's so many things you can do with dates or fruit. But you're right, salt is hard. It's insidious. It's in restaurant food. It's in processed food. It's in pretty much every condiment, and it is very hard for people.
Yes, that is true.
Absolutely. Do you have an Instant Pot? Do you cook things with the Instant Pot ever?
Oh, yes, I love my Instant Pot. I make big batches of, soups. I make all kinds of Indian curries. And Indian food as it is has a lot of spices. So it's very easy to flavor the foods and make it tasty. And again, just being nutritarian, I call myself a nutritarian now as much as I can, so um, I have my cheat days, but then cheating is still like clean eating. It's not, I'm not eating dairy, or I'm not eating cheese, or I've gone completely vegan. And yeah, pretty much, I use the Instapot, I use the air fryer, I use henna yams, I use Japanese potatoes, thanks to Chef AJ. So
Those are delicious. You mentioned the portion sizes at the Olive Garden. I think it's pretty typical for every restaurant. But one thing, when we actually teach people to eat larger portions, but of different types of food, fruits and vegetables, those kind of things, low calorie density foods.
Yes, yes. And now I eat like a big, if you see, it's the size of my head or even bigger. Like my salads are that huge. So, and they're amazing. Every day I use a little different dressing and, different vegetables. It's just amazing.
That's fantastic. What did you eat before you took the Reboot program, and what do you eat now? Maybe go through like what I ate in a day and what do I eat in a day?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so like I said, before I started the Reboot program, I was in India for 5 months. Every day we would make pizzas and we would make all these different Indian, very high calorie foods. Um, there's a thing called kulfi. It's a ice cream that's, very high cream and milk content. So I used to eat that. We ate that in India pretty much for 5 months, every single night. I don't know, my cholesterol numbers were probably through the roof. I don't know. I didn't even get tested. I was so scared. So we pretty much ate Indian food and, other Mexican, but everything had cheese, everything had, dairy. Now my diet is very clean. There's no oil, there's minimal salt if I do add any. My lunch and my breakfast do not have any salt, sugar, or oil. Well, sugar is totally out. I don't have oil in my house. Like you say, if it's in your house, it's in your mouth. I don't have oil in the house. And what else? So now I pretty much every morning is a smoothie. It's a green smoothie with lots of green leafies, the power greens from Costco and the berries. And I have some flaxseed in it. So that's my breakfast. My lunch is a huge salad. So every day I have different veggies that I try out. And then evening, my dinner is either like steamed veggies, side of veggies. I make some Indian curries, but now I make them totally different, where there's no, like, I'll use all the seasonings, but I will not use any oil, not use any salt, not use any sugar. And they taste delicious. So it's just a matter of tweaking, how you cook. I'm not a chef by any means, but yeah.
You had mentioned you lost 30 pounds, but that you also were skinny growing up. What do you think led to those excess pounds as you?
It was lifestyle. I started going to school. So, it was just a very busy schedule with nursing school back in the early 2000s. So that's when I started gradually gaining weight. And then I think the cheese consumption also went up. That was my downfall. What else? Yeah, just the lifestyle, just being a little more sedentary also kind of hindered or accounted for my weight gain. Yeah, those were pretty much it was mainly the diet. It was bad diet.
Right. So did exercise play a role? Because we always tell people you can't outrun a bad diet.
Yes. So when I started coaching, I worked with, like I mentioned, I worked with my coach, Parag Savla, and he was like, okay, I don't want you to worry about exercise right now. He said, we're just going to work on your diet. You will not have to exercise for a while. If you want, you can go for a walk, or you can, do some light exercise if you have time, if time permits, because I had been very busy with my job and my work. And sorry, I had something flash here on my
That's okay.
So he kind of said, we'll just work on the diet. And I literally saw my whole weight loss. At least 90% of the weight loss was just with my diet alone. And then once I lost a whole bunch of weight, I started going to the gym and exercising a little more regularly. And that kind of helped with, just toning and just feeling a little bit better, or just feeling more energetic. But the diet was the majority of my weight loss.
That's fantastic. And was it difficult?
Initially, it took a little bit of, trial and error and tweaking all the recipes. I'm like, oh, how do I make this? Or this doesn't taste very good initially. Like, And then gradually, as a couple of weeks went by and months, I just got better and better. And I would get ideas, from different channels, forks over knives. And of course, my coach would keep sending me recipes and things like that. So he would have a meal plan as a menu, like, okay, this is what you're going to eat for the whole week and things like that. So that really helped. So then now it's like, it's second nature. I can't think of any other way of living.
Well, your coach sounds wonderful, and we always recommend people get support. And not everyone can afford a private one-on-one coach. That's why I think the Reboot program is so helpful.
Yes, yes. I think the Reboot program really, I was just blown away because there were a few things that I could still change. Like with the nutritarian lifestyle, they suggest having at least some fat source to get the absorption of all the nutrients. Um, and then when I did the program, the Reboot program, I think you were teaching about fats. And so I eliminated all the fats for a few days, and I could see the weight loss. And I was like, oh, wow. So it was just making some small tweaks, and that really helped. And just overall, I enjoyed all the recipes, and it's a pretty fun program.
That's wonderful. I'm so glad. What did you like best about the program?
I love Dr. Goldhammer. He's hilarious. I also liked how it was cut. Like I said, every day it was just a small video that you had to watch, or it wasn't very overwhelming. So that was amazing to me. I learned better that way. So I love that.
That's fantastic. People don't realize unless they've taken the program that both Dr. Lyle and Dr. Goldhammer are part of the program, not just the daily modules that you get for 30 days, but they each do a 3-hour Q&A, which I've never seen them do that anywhere else. Did you take advantage and ask any questions?
I think I asked some questions. I don't quite recollect. I think it was about the fat or the nutrient absorption, because I was always like, okay, if I don't have a fat source in my food, in my salad or in my smoothie, am I getting all the nutrients? Like I just got my blood work and my vitamin D levels were a little low. So I'm like, okay, am I missing something? Because I just wanted everything to be in balance as far as, I don't want any nutritional deficiencies down the line and things like that. So that was the question I asked, and I got a good answer. So yeah.
What was harder for you, Sue, to go from a vegetarian to vegan, or to eliminate the, what Dr. Goldhammer calls the chemicals of sugar, oil, and salt?
So oil was not very hard. Like you said, there's nuts and seeds and things like that. So that was not very difficult. It was just a change of mindset where you think, what you think is normal, and you change the way you eat. That was a little hard. And it wasn't, initially it took a little bit, but after a month, it just became easy, and it got easier as time went by. So it was a process. It was just, it took a little bit of tweaking and working with the recipes.
Were you able to convert some of your favorite family recipes, Indian recipes, to healthful recipes?
Yes, quite a few.
That's good, because people love Indian food. And, if you go to a restaurant, there's a lot of oil in general.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a dish called Navratan Korma, which has like cauliflower and all the veggies, all the vegetables like carrots and, name it, beans. And that I was able to make in an Instapot. And, it has, even like for sweetness, it has a little bit of pineapple. It has all these exotic spices like saffron and cardamom and things like that. And it is just amazing. So I was able to share that with my coach, and he loved it too. So
are you still working with a coach?
Well, I talk to him pretty often. Like he keeps up, to see how I'm doing, but it's mainly we're just discussing and sharing ideas. So I'm not really working with him because the coaching program is over, but he kind of still gives me ongoing support.
No, but it's great to know that people do need support, and they like support, and that really helps people. And people shouldn't be afraid to ask for support, because if they could do it by themselves, they probably would have. So that's one of the ideas behind the Reboot program. Is it's a group coaching program, but support, I think, is key for people trying to make the change.
Yes, I agree with that 100%.
Yeah. So you said you lost 34 pounds, I believe. What time frame? How long did it take you to do that?
It took me a little bit longer. My coach was not very happy. He's like, there's something off. Like it shouldn't take this long. Because I was following everything. Like I would send him text messages from Costco saying, hey, can I buy this? Is this good? And then I would get like a 1-hour call from him. Like, okay, you tell me, why is it, why you wouldn't buy it? And then I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it. So yeah, I mean, Yeah, it's kind of a journey, so I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not too sure.
That's okay, but hey, it came off, and that's the best part. You said you lost like 33% body fat. That's pretty amazing.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I think maybe 6 months. I want to say, I'm trying to think. I had a Fit Track app on my phone with the weighing scale, and I lost it. So I'm trying to think. I'm thinking maybe it took me a little less than a year, maybe 10 months or so to get the weight off.
There's nothing wrong with that. It took me 27 months to lose 50 pounds. So you are way ahead of me. Yeah. What advice would you give people that are maybe on the fence, whether they should get a coach or join the Reboot program? We only offer it twice a year, by the way.
Oh, the Reboot program, I highly recommend it. Highly recommend getting a coach, first of all, because there will always be some gaps in your knowledge. There is so much information out there on the internet. Um, I think with the Reboot program, it's organized in such a great fashion that anyone, any layperson, it's very simple. It's very simple concepts. It's easy to grasp. You get all the support, and all your questions are answered if you have questions. So in that aspect, I really love the Reboot program. And then working with my coach, he was very diligent. He kept me on track. He followed up with me every single week, and he kind of made sure that I was staying on track. If there was a slip up, which I don't think I had too many slip ups, but he would be able to dissect everything. Like I made something and I had used a little bit of coconut milk, and then he told me, okay, how much of saturated fat do you think is in this? And then I read somewhere Dr. Barnard, or yeah, it was Dr. Barnard. I was watching a video, and he said, how often should you have coconut milk? Like, so he's like, maybe 0 times in your lifetime. So I'm like, okay, I get it. I get it.
Oh, people love
So,
fat.
yes. I read all the books. I read Dr. Furman's Eat for Life. Eat to Live was the one that I did some book readings with my coach also. That helped me a lot. So it was a combination of things. And I think the biggest thing I got, I watched a video about eating potatoes and hana yams. That was, I think, one of the videos that my coach had shared, one of the YouTube videos you had online. And then I called him and questioned him, hey, isn't this starch? Like, are you supposed to be having this? And he's like, well, Dr. Furman wouldn't recommend, you can have it occasionally, but you shouldn't be having it every day. So we kind of had a back and forth about that. I was like, oh, but Chef AJ says this. And by then I had
have it
become a
every
Chef
day.
AJ fan.
I
So I was
have it every
like,
day.
Chef AJ says this. So now every time I talk to him, it's Chef AJ, because he told me to read The Pleasure Trap. And I was like, okay, let me get an audiobook so I can do it sometime while I'm driving. And suddenly, like, I hear your voice on that, and I'm like, guess what? Guess who read the Pleasure
No, I
Trap?
know that was quite an honor to be able to narrate that book. Yeah,
Yes,
it's a
yes.
really good book.
And for me, it was a surprise, because by then I was watching a lot of YouTube videos that you had online, and to hear your voice. And so I told my coach that, oh, Chef AJ is narrating that book. So
Well, thank you. Besides the extra weight, did you have any health markers when you were 34 pounds heavier to be concerned about?
luckily, nothing that was out of the ordinary. I should have got my blood work when I came back from India, but for some reason, I did not. I'm pretty sure my cholesterol numbers would have been off, but otherwise, I'm fairly healthy. I exercise. So yeah, I didn't have any health conditions or issues per se. But just I used to sleep a lot. Like every time I'm like, oh, my hobby is sleeping. Like anytime you tell me to sleep, I can fall asleep. Even like, in the afternoon, I can nap. I can just sleep at any time. Anytime I get free time, I want to go take a nap. And now I don't nap anymore. I feel more energetic and just full of life. And I have so many friends that I've kind of talked about my diet and what I do, and they've tried to implement it. I have two friends that have gone vegan, and they've lost a good amount of weight, just listening to me. And I talk to them and discuss what I eat and how, and they'll ask me questions. I'm like, okay, I'm not an expert by any means, but I can help you. I have worked as a health advocate actually for Cigna. I used to work as a health coach, or like my title was health advocate, and I used to teach people about diet. And but I'm like, oh man, I was so wrong. Because that's what you're taught in school, right? Like, okay, you have to have your proteins, and you have to have your lean proteins, and your macros and things like that. And that's what you're teaching. Oh, you want your monosaturated fats, and olive oil is a good source, and have your avocados and things like that. So I mean, I felt like, okay, we get the education, but it's not quite complete.
Do you feel differently having the excess weight gone?
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. Just being able to wear all the clothes. I fit in my clothes that, like, I got married in the year 2000. I can fit in clothes that, before I got married, which is amazing. I had one dress. I didn't have anything, but there was one dress that I really loved. And I actually fit in that. I'm like, oh my God, even during my wedding, I think it was a little tight. So yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah. Well, it's not only great that you lost the weight, congratulations, of course, but that you adopted the healthy habits that enabled you to lose weight and that you're sustaining them.
Yes, yes. And I think now there's no going back, because if you eat this way, you're able to eat so much food and not gain a single pound, or, keep the weight off. And then, of course, exercise is always a bonus. Now, my son has gotten into bodybuilding, or not bodybuilding, but he wants to gain muscle. And he's like, Mom, come on, you have to. So he kind of encourages me to exercise also, go to the gym with him and things like that. So
Yeah, your son sounds like a remarkable young man.
he is. I'm surprised. Like, at this age, I was like, how did you? And he just kept watching Earthling Ed. Well, 5 months we were just bored out of our brains in India. And he kept watching videos. And like, when I go back, Mom, when we go back to USA, I'm gonna go vegan. He kept saying it every day, but we were still eating. He was having milk in the morning, one big huge cup of milk. He was having all the desserts, the dairy, kulfi, like I said, the ice cream. We were having that every day. So I was like, okay, he's just saying it. Maybe, it's a phase and it'll pass, is what was going on in my brain when he was saying it. So,
well, good for him. Maybe I'll have him on the show. Be interesting to see if it's not just a phase.
yes. I don't think he's pretty serious. He's like, Mom, you're more likely to go non-vegan than me. So
Yeah.
like he challenges me. I'm like, okay, Om, like his name is Om. And I'm like, Om, I'm never going not, I'll always be vegan for the rest of my life. And so, we just joke back and forth. So.
It's remarkable that you had the support of your family, because as I'm sure I don't know how much you participated in the forum when you did the Reboot program, which, by the way, you're doing it again, which is wonderful, because reinforcement is always good, even once you've been successful. But there's so many people that don't have the support of the spouse or the children.
Yes. So initially, my son, being vegan was easy for them. Both of them were fine. But my husband kept resisting. So we had I had my fair share of challenges with him. And then my son was like, oh, this is not tasty, or oh, I don't like this. So there were some challenges. So I had to come up with some creative recipes. Veganism was easy. It was not the veganism. It was the junky vegan foods that, they were craving. And my husband especially, like, oh, why do you have to do this and why do you have to do that? But then eventually he got on board. He would listen. Sometimes he would listen in when my coach would call, like if we were just talking. He's a family friend, so he's my husband's friend first, and that's how we kind of got to the coaching program. So he would listen and he would talk and he would give some arguments about why you shouldn't do this and that, and then he would always lose the battle because it was 2 against 1.
Oh, that's funny. A lot of people say that their spouse either reversed their disease or lost weight by proxy just by having the videos in the background.
And yeah, my husband he's lost, I think, 35 pounds as well, so
that's amazing.
Both of us have lost weight. He probably didn't, well, he probably did need the weight loss too. And I'm trying to still I'm still trying to lose about 10 pounds or so, just because I want to be at that ideal weight that Dr. Furman recommends.
Well,
ideal,
Yeah, well, we have the Reboot program starting now, and that's where people learn to really tighten the screws. Usually one session with Goldhammer, and okay.
Yes, yeah, and Dr. Goldhammer is really strict. I mean, he's hilarious, but he is pretty strict. So
he is, and again, it's not for everybody, but for people that want certain results, sometimes you have to go that extra mile. I always tell people, do the least restrictive program you can do that will get you the results you seek. But if a liberal or flexible program isn't working, maybe we do an experiment with. That's what I think of Reboot as, a 30-day experiment, just to see if this is something that you can do and you want to do. But like when I hear about these success stories, like 34 pounds, other people, then not just losing the weight, but feeling better and looking better to themselves, their own opinion of themselves. It just makes me smile. And I wish I could do it more than twice a year.
You are doing amazing, Chef AJ. I tell my husband, she is the Oprah of plant-based world. Like literally, I love you have such amazing guests. I have had so many recipes that I've been using. Like I think you had one of the guests she called it the poop pudding or something. I forget her
Oh yeah,
name.
poop pudding. Yeah, not
Oh
a
my
great
goodness.
name, but it was delicious. Yeah.
My son loves it. And, it's so simple. I mean, it's easy to make. It takes a few minutes, to put it together. And so I've got so many recipe ideas, and she made the soy yogurt. So I tried making that. And so and even in the Reboot program, the recipes, I printed all the recipes that you gave, and, that really helped me as well. So.
And we've had a lot of Indian chefs on that you don't use oil and made fabulous, samosas and very traditional Indian foods. Idli, I think it was. Idlis is also.
Idlis, yes.
Yeah. So, and yet they did it without oil, sugar, or salt. And because really what makes Indian food so delicious isn't necessarily the oil. It's all the spices and just the, amazing taste. Did you meet anybody while you were in the program? I know sometimes people make buddies or meet friends or.
Unfortunately, I did not. My work schedule is very busy, has been very busy. So I didn't get a chance to really interact with other people. So no, I did not.
But that's okay, because that's not a requirement. But some people join just for that little extra community forum that we have.
I had the support of my coach while I was doing the Reboot program. I was still working with the coach, so I had the support system. And then by then, my husband had gotten on board because it had been a little bit over a year. So luckily, my husband was on board, so it was kind of fairly easy.
Yeah, because it's amazing because I mean, to me, a success story isn't somebody that necessarily loses weight, although we're happy when people can do that. It's keeping it off. That's just seems to be the challenge for people.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I'm just so thankful for your success, and you sound like you have a wonderful family. And seriously, I think your son should come on the show and maybe inspire people of his generation to do what he did. It's such a good age. I mean, I thought I was 17, but he did it 4 years earlier than me. And like you say, he did it for ethical reasons, and that's usually the kind of people that kind of stay vegan more than people doing it necessarily for health or weight loss.
Right. And I think once you do it, even for weight loss, I think when you create that awareness, you have to watch. There are some videos, and you will know what the reality is, but for the dairy industry and what's happening. After you watch that, there's really no going back, because it just feels like it's not the right thing to do. Sometimes I wonder, like, what people think when, especially with the meat consumption. And of course, I grew up in a Jain household where it's the non-violence, and that's what you practice. So you cannot kill other animals and eat them. So that was a big principle. But when I think about all the treatment, all the ill treatment that we're giving to the cows, and
absolutely,
there's no going back now.
Yeah, well, so I think it's a win-win. If somebody was on the fence whether or not they should take the Reboot program or take it January, maybe wait till fall, what advice would you give them?
I don't think it's a good idea to wait. If you want to lose weight, gathering the knowledge and what Chef AJ has to offer is amazing, because it is so simple. It's broken down into such easy, digestible, bite-sized pieces that, every day it's just a few minutes of your time. It's not a whole lot. You get all the support. So I would highly recommend that people not wait or waste a single day, because time is going to go by anyway, whether you do the program or not. So you might regret it that you started so late. Like I sometimes feel like, oh, I wish I had known this when, before I even got pregnant with my son, and I would have been a nutritarian, and, he would have not known any other way. So I don't think anyone should wait. If they're on the fence, go for it, try it. I know, Chef AJ, you offer a 30-day money back guarantee.
Yeah, we offer, I think now it's 14 days because, but yes, we definitely offer a 2-week money back guarantee, so they can try it for 2 weeks.
They can try it for 2 weeks and see, and actually, print out the recipes if you can. Try to implement it very seriously for just 2 weeks and see how you feel. See your energy levels. Like, I don't need naps anymore. I feel like my sleep also has been regulated to where I'm just so energetic. So just trying what Chef AJ has been promoting the whole time. That's what I would tell people to, just go ahead and go for it. You won't regret it.
Well, thank you. And congratulations on your success.
Thank you so much, Chef AJ.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And thanks all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. Please come back tomorrow for another fabulous guest.